Real men don't snoop, Mark. She said it loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. My wife, Jenna, was standing at the end of the dining table, arms crossed, chin up, like she was presenting a case instead of being on trial. Across from her sat Lily, my wife's best friend since college, and Lily's husband, Aaron. We'd just finished dinner. I'd cleared the plates. Everyone still had a glass in front of them. Real men trust their wives, Jenna repeated, not go digging through their phones like some creepy IT troll. I didn't respond right away. I just picked up the black folder I'd placed next to my chair when we sat down. A 1-inch binder. Nothing dramatic. Just labeled in my handwriting, Jenna, Aaron, Signal and WhatsApp exports. I set it on the table, very gently, dead center between the four of us. Real wives, I said, don't send 562 messages to their best friend's husband behind their own husband's back. Lily's eyes snapped to the label. Aaron went pale. I flipped the binder open to the first page, July 3rd, 11:27 p.m., and rotated it toward Jenna. Her own words stared back at her in 12-point font. He's snoring next to me, and all I can think about is your hands on my hips instead. Silence. No one moved. No one breathed loudly enough for the mics in my ceiling to pick up. I tapped the page. This is between you and Aaron, I said. Exported from your Signal backup and his WhatsApp archive, mirrored from 3 devices, hashed at SHA-256 and printed last night. I looked up at the camera above the TV. And yes, I added, before anyone says privacy, I'll explain exactly how I got it. If you like watching people who say real men don't snoop, get absolutely ruined by timestamps, logs, and their own messages on a big screen, this is your video. Hit subscribe, because I treat my own life the way I treat a breach investigation. Calm, documented, and devastating when it hits. I'm a Cybersecurity Incident Response Lead. In normal language, that means when a bank, hospital, or government agency gets hacked at 2:13 a.m. by someone in another time zone, I'm the guy who gets the call. I run a team of 8 analysts. We pass logs, pull disk images, trace IPs, capture volatile memory, and reconstruct exactly what happened, second by second. On average, I deal with about 6-10 incidents a month. I live in timelines, event logs, and version histories. My job is to assume nothing, trust no one's memory, and let the data talk. At home, though, I let myself be stupid for a while. Jenna liked to joke that I brought work home because I labeled everything in our pantry and tracked our spending in a spreadsheet. I made about $186,000 a year with bonuses, which meant I funded 91% of our household expenses. I know that number because I ran it after the fact. Over 5 years, I contributed $428,500. She contributed $42,900. She worked part-time as a content creator, which meant brand deals, affiliate links, and posting photos of our life that I paid for. We lived in a 3-bedroom townhouse I'd bought 2 years before we married. The mortgage, insurance, HOA, utilities, all mine. She covered groceries sometimes and her car, a leased SUV that cost $612 a month and was technically in my name. Her best friend Lily and Lily's husband Aaron were our default couple friends. We did game nights, double dates, holiday trips. I'd known Aaron for about 6 years. I was in his wedding. I gave a toast. He cried. From the outside, it looked balanced. 2 couples, same age range, solid incomes. On the inside, I was the one making sure everything cleared on the 1st and 15th. Jenna liked that stability. She just didn't like the rules that came with it. The first anomaly was small, they usually are. I was working late one night, VPN'd into a client environment, going through firewall logs, 157,342 events over a 24-hour window. Out of habit, I glanced at our home router's dashboard in another tab. It's a simple web UI I keep open sometimes to see if our network is being weird. There was a device named iPhone J pushing encrypted traffic to a relay node I didn't recognize. Timing pattern, regular bursts, 30-40 KB every few seconds, mostly between 11:30 p.m. and 1 a.m. Normal people don't see that. I do. The MAC address matched Jenna's phone. That's funny, I remember thinking. She said she was exhausted and going to sleep at 10:30. I didn't go upstairs. I marked the traffic, noted the endpoint, and pulled historical logs. The pattern had started 23 days earlier, always late at night, always while she was tired. When I see unknown outbound traffic in my day job, I build a profile. When it started, where it's going, what changed on the endpoint. I did the same thing at home. Over the next 10 days, I logged Jenna's network activity the way I would for a compromised laptop. Device name, IP, timestamps, destination domains. I saw regular connections to textsecureservice.whispersystems.org, Signal, web.whatsapp.com, an iCloud backup endpoint at odd hours. None of that is illegal. Millions of people use those apps, but the volume and timing were off compared to her previous months. So I checked my other logs, In my calendar, Jenna had gone from falling asleep on the couch at 10 to taking her phone into the bathroom and showering for 45 minutes in exactly the same window those late-night spikes started. I didn't confront her. When something looks off in my work, I don't call the hacker and yell, I collect. Around that time, Jenna started getting cagey about her phone. It used to live on the counter, open, screen lighting up with spam calls and Instagram likes. Suddenly it was face down. Then it was in her back pocket. Then it needed a new passcode because of hackers. The irony wasn't lost on me. One Friday, Aaron and Lily came over for drinks. We ordered in. At one point, Jenna and Aaron were in the kitchen mixing cocktails, laughing a little too hard. Their phones were next to each other on the counter. A signal notification popped up on Aaron's screen. J. Just an initial and an emoji. I'm trained to notice patterns. It takes about 200 to 300 milliseconds for me to read something, file it, and keep my face neutral. Later that night, while Jenna was too tired for anything, I got an alert from our cell carrier, a SIM swap protection notification. Federal regulation means every line on a business family plan has extra logging. I manage that account because she's on my plan. Her number had generated 3.2 GB of data in one day. She'd barely left the house. Something snapped into place then. Not emotionally, just logically. If this were a client, I'd already be in their phone, so I got in hers. Here's the grey area. Because Jenna's iPhone was on my business family plan, enrolled in the same mobile device management profile I use for my own phone and our test devices, I already had the ability to enforce backups and retrieve certain logs. It's part of the terms she agreed to when I added the line 3 years earlier. She clicked accept on a policies screen she didn't read. Most people don't. I forced an encrypted iCloud backup at 1:12 a.m. while she was asleep. Our home Wi-Fi logs showed the transfer. Once it completed, I pulled the backup image down to a separate MacBook I keep in my office for forensics. I used tools I use at work to parse it. I extracted Signal database WhatsApp chat stores photos, keychain entries Safari history, total size 14.3 GB. I wasn't looking for sexts or drama. I was looking for evidence of pattern. Who, when, how often. The name that mattered wasn't J, it was the number tied to it. It matched Aaron. The export showed 562 Signal messages over 49 days between Jenna and Aaron. That's an average of 11.46 messages per day, peaks at 37 messages on July 3rd and 42 messages on July 18th. The content was what you'd expect. Complaining about spouses, flirting, pictures that I didn't need to see to know what they were. I scrolled past those. What I cared about were lines like, Jenna. Lily is so clueless she thinks we're planning a surprise for her. Aaron. Don't feel bad. Mark is married to his job. We're just using what's left. And Jenna. Real men don't snoop. He'll never find out unless you screw up. That one made me stop, not because it hurt, but because it told me something important. She was confident. Confident cheaters are sloppy. Sloppy people leave artifacts. I exported the entire thread to a PDF, 147 pages. I calculated hashes, wrote them down. I stored 3 copies, one on encrypted storage at home, one on a hardware-encrypted USB, and one in a private cloud vault under zero-knowledge encryption. Paranoid? Maybe. Professional? Definitely. The next step was asset protection. In incident response, there's a phase called containment. You don't shut everything down at once. You isolate what you must while keeping operations running. I did that with my life. Step 1. I opened a separate checking account at a credit union Jenna didn't know about. I adjusted my payroll so that instead of $6,200 hitting our joint account every 2 weeks, only $3,500 did. The rest went to the new account. Step 2. I froze all but one of our shared credit cards. I told Jenna there had been a fraud alert and we were simplifying. She shrugged. She liked using her own card for aesthetics anyway. Step 3. I met with a lawyer and a financial planner. I moved $120,000 from my taxable investments into a newly formed LLC that held no marital debt and was structured as my separate property. I also updated beneficiaries on my life insurance and retirement accounts and drafted a revocable trust with one beneficiary, me, with a successor structure for future kids if I ever had them. None of this was hidden from the law. It was simply prior to filing asset planning. In my state, that's legal as long as you're not actively defrauding. Jenna had no idea any of it existed. Then I started a different kind of logging, social. Every time Jenna worked late or said she was at yoga with Lily, I checked. Lily's location when she shared it with Jenna in chat, which, yes, was in the backup. Their Instagram stories, our home camera feeds, my router logs on 7 of 10 yoga nights. Jenna's phone pinged a tower near a hotel 12 minutes from our house. On 3 of those nights, Aaron's phone left their neighborhood at almost the same minute. I kept adding to the binder. By the time I was done, I had 147 pages of chats, 23 instances of overlapping location data, 19 hotel charges on Aaron's card that matched Jenna's busy schedule, 34 screenshots of Jenna talking to friends about real men don't snoop and mocking my work. That phrase became a running joke in her group chats. She'd have them over, drink wine and say, "Mark's in his cave clicking on logs, protecting the world," or whatever. As long as he doesn't snoop, I'm good. I heard it 3 times in 1 week. I had it recorded twice. I didn't argue. Silence is a strategy. The turning point wasn't when I caught the cheating. It was when I heard her talk about consequences. It was a random Tuesday afternoon. I'd come home early from a client site because their issue turned out to be a misconfigured backup job, not a hack. The house was empty, but her phone had stayed behind on the kitchen counter. She was on a call on speaker with Lily. She didn't know the house camera mic picked up audio and sent it to my archive. I listened later at 9:43 p.m. on 2x speed. Jenna, even if he finds out, what's he gonna do? Leave? The townhouse is basically ours now. I picked everything. I'll cry, he'll feel guilty, and we'll go to counseling. Lily, you're playing with fire. Jenna, please, real men don't go through phones. He hates drama. In that moment, my path forward locked in. I wasn't going to throw a scene. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I was going to build a case, present it with documentation, and let the social and legal fallout do the rest. I reached out to Lily, privately. Most people expect the betrayed best friend to be oblivious. Lily wasn't. She'd noticed Aaron being off for months but had chalked it up to work stress. I sent her one screenshot first. No commentary. Just a cropped chat. Aaron, I'll tell Lily I have a late install. You tell Mark you're doing content. 8 p.m., room 312. Then I waited. She called me 11 minutes later. No hello. Is this real? She asked. Yes. How much more is there? 562 messages, I said. 49 days, hotels, calls, photos. I don't recommend looking at all of it unless you have to. She was quiet for a full 20 seconds. Show me everything, she finally said. I need to know what I'm dealing with. We met the next day in my office, the same room where I'd rebuilt countless timelines of strangers' lives after breaches. This time the victim was me and her. I walked her through the binder like it was a client brief. Color-coded tabs, key messages, hotel dates, timeline charts. Lily didn't cry in front of me. Her eyes were red, but she listened like a client, asked good questions, took notes. At the end, I slid a second, thinner folder across the table. What's this? She asked. Logins, I said. To a shared drive with all the evidence. Hashed. Time-stamped. If you decide to divorce, you won't be relying on he said, she said. I expected her to hate me a little for being this cold. Instead, she nodded. "We're going to blow up 2 marriages with this," she said. "They already blew them up," I replied. "We're just turning on the lights." We agreed on 3 things. Neither of us would confront them immediately. We would both quietly retain lawyers and get our financial ducks in a row. When it was time, we'd confront them together, with everything on the table. The dinner was my idea. "In my world," I told her, "breach reports end with an executive presentation, one big meeting where everything is laid out. They can deny feelings. They can't deny their own words on screen." So we scheduled a casual double date, which brings us back to that night at my dining table. Jenna had just delivered her line about "real men don't snoop." Aaron had been smirking in solidarity, like he was part of some enlightened club. The binder was open in front of them. First reaction was predictable. Jenna's face went from confident to confused to furious in about 3 seconds. "What is this?" she asked, even though she knew. "Your signal backup," I said, "plus Aaron's WhatsApp, plus hotel records from June to August, overlaid with router logs, tower pings, and some very uncreative cover stories." "You hacked me," she said, pointing a finger. "That's illegal." I shook my head. "You enrolled your phone in my MDM profile when I added you to my business plan," I replied. "You signed a consent form that literally says, 'I understand that my device may be monitored and backed up for security purposes.' It's not a secret. You just didn't read." I pointed to the page. "And even if you want to argue about that, Aaron here also backed up his WhatsApp to his Google Drive with no password. That part required 0 hacking, just knowing his recovery email, which happens to be the same one he gave me when I set up our fantasy league." Aaron flinched. Lily reached for the binder, flipped to a random page and read aloud, "Can't wait to see you again. He thinks I'm at Lily's." "That's your handwriting and your emoji," she said to Aaron. "Try to tell me that's not you." Aaron stammered something about context. "There are 562 of these," I said. "We can go through them one by one if you want." Jenna went for the moral high ground. "This is a gross violation of my privacy," she said. "You went through my phone, my apps. Real men don't do this, Mark. Real men don't snoop," I finished for her. "Yes. So I've heard that line 14 times in the last 2 months. Want to guess how many times you said real wives don't cheat on their husbands with their best friend's husband?" Her mouth snapped shut. I reached for the remote and turned on the TV. The home screen came up. I mirrored my laptop. On the screen, a simple timeline chart. Dates along the bottom, colored bars for each yoga night, each content shoot, each hotel stay. Next to it, chat snippets. June 11th, 8:17 p.m. Jenna, leaving now, told him it was a brand call. Room 402 again. June 11th, 8:19 p.m. Aaron, already here, brought your favorite wine. Below that, a line from my router logs showing her phone disconnecting from our Wi-Fi at 8:06 p.m. and reconnecting at 11:54 p.m. "This," I said, keeping my voice level, "is how it looks when 2 people commit to betraying everyone around them and think they're too clever to ever get caught." Jenna tried one last angle. "You're ruining 4 lives over some stupid flirting," she said. "Flirting is you looked nice today," I said. "This is coordinated lying, hotels, and planning a future where I was supposed to keep paying the mortgage while you 2 did whatever felt good." Lily didn't raise her voice. She just leaned back, looked at Aaron and said, "We're done." Then she turned to me. "Did you bring the other folder?" she asked. I nodded, took out 2 sealed envelopes and slid them across the table. One to Jenna, one to Aaron. "Those," I said, "are copies of the petitions our lawyers will file in the morning. I've already moved my separate property into structures you can't touch. The townhouse is in my name and in a trust. My retirement accounts have updated beneficiaries. I'm offering a clean split of anything that's truly marital and nothing more." Jenna ripped hers open, scanned the first page, and looked up at me like she didn't recognize me. "You planned this," she said. "You've been planning this for months." "Yes," I said simply. "The day I saw you type 'real men don't snoop, he'll never find out,' I started my incident response process. You were the breach. I was the victim. I treated it accordingly." Aaron tried to negotiate. "We can work this out," he said. "It doesn't have to be nuclear." Lily looked at the TV, then back at him. "You went nuclear the first time you kissed my best friend," she said. "This is cleanup." The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect if you've ever watched people who build their lives on lies hit a wall of facts. Jenna moved out within 3 weeks. She went to her sister's spare room. All the nice photos on her Instagram of cozy nights in our townhome suddenly stopped. Her followers dropped. People always do that when the aesthetic cracks. Our divorce took 5 months. During financial disclosures, my separate accounts, LLC and trust, stood exactly where my attorney said they would, legally solid. She had her own separate checking account with $3,182 in it, one maxed-out personal credit card with a $9,700 balance, and no legal claim on my premarital house. She tried to argue contributions as a homemaker and content creator. My spreadsheets showed that over 5 years, I did 72% of school runs, 88% of bill pays, and 100% of savings contributions. Her content featured me more than it featured any cleaning or childcare. When her lawyer brought up snooping, mine slid the MDM consent form across the table, signed by her, dated, with my company's policy attached. "Your client granted monitoring rights," my lawyer said. "He used them to confirm misconduct that materially affects the marriage and future trust. Courts care more about the infidelity than about someone reading messages they had legal access to." In the end, Jenna got her personal belongings, her car, which she had to refinance out of my name, a small cash equalization, $15,000, because my attorney preferred clean closure over a protracted fight. She did not get any ownership in my LLC, any access to my trust, any share of the townhouse equity. We had no kids, which simplified custody to 0. She'd joked before that it was freeing not having children. That joke didn't age well when she realized it meant no leverage. Aaron fared worse. Lily's lawyer was more aggressive than mine. With the chat logs, hotel receipts, and my technical documentation backing the timeline, she got the marital home, which was in both their names, 65% of their liquid assets, spousal support for 3 years based on his higher income. He moved into a 1-bedroom apartment near a freeway. The first month he tried texting me a half apology, half accusation about going too far. I archived it. I didn't respond. Socially, Jenna and Aaron both nuked their own reputations. When you betray people in a friend group built on shared history, word travels. I didn't campaign against them. I didn't gossip. But when people asked why we divorced, I told them the truth in 1 sentence. I found 562 messages between my wife and my best friend's husband. I presented them with evidence. We divorced. Most people didn't need more detail than that. Lily and I stayed in contact, mostly for logistics early on, coordinating signatures, not double-booking lawyers. People expected us to fall into some rebound situation. We didn't. I wasn't interested in building anything new on the ashes of something that broken. I focused on my work, my health, and rebuilding my life with the same methodical approach I used to tear the old one down. From start to finish, I never raised my voice. I didn't throw anything. I didn't beg. I treated the cheating like a malicious actor in a network. Identify, contain, eradicate, recover. Jenna's line, "Real men don't snoop," was supposed to be her shield. It became Exhibit A in the case against her judgment. Real men don't snoop blindly. Competent men verify. And when the data says you're being played, real men don't stay. If you like watching arrogant cheaters talk about privacy while their own chat logs and hotel receipts dismantle their lives in 1080p, hit subscribe, like the video, and share it. I've got more stories where silence, logs, and a well-timed binder do more damage than shouting ever could.